Hey guys, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. It all depends when you are seeing this video and where in the world you are seeing this video. So I'm going to bring you guys a question that I recently had when I bought this monster of a camera. This is the Panasonic Lumix S5 Mark II. So I follow the 180 rule when I'm doing my recordings. What is the 180 rule? The 180 rule is when you set the shutter speed and the frames per second to mimic the blur that we see in with our own eyes. So if you're following the 180 rule, then you set your frames per second times 2. For example, the frames per second that I like to record is 24 frames per second times 2 would be 48. We don't really have 48, therefore I set my shutter speed at 1/50. So that would be the closest to it, and that's what mimics the blur that we see with our own eyes when we're seeing stuff moving. And that's how our eyes see. Now, that also includes the ISO, which I like to set it at 100. ISO was 100, sometimes up to 400. Now, with this camera, I was trying to set the shutter speed, but I could not find the shutter speed. It was giving me a shutter angle. I was so lost. I was like, what the heck is going on here? And so I went ahead and Googled it, and it gave me this formula that you need to follow. But you actually get to the same answer. You get to pretty much the same answer that you would be if you would be using the 24 frames per second times 2 and so on. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep this in mind. For example, I like to shoot at 24 frames per second, and 24 times 2 equals 48. We do not have 48 for the shutter speed. The closest to it would be 50. So I set my shutter speed at 1/50. Now let's do this calculation together, okay? If you are shooting at 24 frames per second, you do 24 times the entire degree, which is 360. 360. That equals 8,640. Now you divide this number by the shutter speed that you would be using. In my case, I would be using 50. So I divide this number by 50 equals 172.8. That is the shutter angle. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this together again. I'm shooting at 24 frames per second times 360. That's the entire degree, correct? The circle. That equals 8,640. You divide that by your shutter speed, which in my case would be 1/50. So I divide it over 50 equals, it gives me 172.8. Now, let's say you are using 30 frames per second. That's what you like to record on. 30 frames per second. And you want to follow the 180 rule, but you have a camera such as the Lumix, Panasonic Lumix. So let's go ahead and do this calculation together. 30 frames per second times 360 equals 10,800. Now, 30 times 2 equals 60. So you would set your shutter speed at 1 over 60. I divide this number by 60, and my shutter angle would be 180. I hope you found this quick explanation useful, because it took me like 3 days to find the answer. I'm trying to make it easier for you guys, okay? If you have any other questions, concerns, or any comments, please leave it below. I would appreciate if you click like, subscribe, so I can go ahead and bring more videos like so. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thanks.